morning we had to wait a couple of hours before we could get out on the water because it was so rainy. And we met Harry, who runs the Riverside bait shop right down in Keswick, and it's also the place where we launched our boat. And he said to me, have you ever tried one of these jigs? I've actually put one of the jigs that he gave me on. That's a nice keeper rock bass. I'm just going to put him in the net for now. So he took this jig that I'm going to show you a little bit later, and he put a little tube on there, and he said, Italo, when you fish this, I don't want you to cast it out. I want you just to drop it over the side. When you hit the bottom, lift it up so that it's about 6 inches off the bottom, and just shake it. It's got some waves here from a boat that went by. So I'm going to cast this out. And you know what? I said I'm going to try it when we get out there. Another keeper. This is okay. Now look at how fat these guys are. You can see that, right? Nice rock bass. They also call them red eye, by the way. If you can see their eye, they've got a really bright red eye. So I'm going to put them in the net until I go back there and put them in the live well. You can appreciate how clear the water is here in Lake Simcoe, that it's almost like looking down in an aquarium. Another fish for the live well. I'm just going to put him in the net for now. Where's my net? Right there. And I'll drop him in the live well in just a moment. Fire another cast out. Now you can see, because we're in shallow water, if you look down, it's a mottled bottom. I'm going to put my glasses back on so that I can see the bottom well. When I say mottled, it's light and dark. So there's very sparse vegetation, and that's one of the keys to catching these fish. I think the reason being, the fish know that where there's a change in bottom like that, they've got a better chance to spot the food that they're going after. And a lot of these panfish are looking for little organisms like freshwater shrimp, crayfish, little leeches, invertebrates, which is the aquatic stage of insects. So fishing key areas like this where there's a bottom change sometimes can produce quite a few panfish. Now, it's not often that I show you fish cleaning techniques, but I thought it was important today because of the 3 species of panfish that we were targeting. So a couple things that you should have, whether you're cleaning them on shore or in a boat, like I'm going to now. A fish cleaning board is very important, so that you have a flat surface. And this particular one, you can see, has the actual clip to hold the fish's head in place while you're scaling or filleting the fish. The other is, if you're planning on scaling any of the fish, just to have a steak knife like I have here. So it's got a serrated edge, it's not very sharp. And then a small fillet knife like the one I'm holding here. This has a 4-inch blade. You wouldn't want to use a knife like this if you were filleting a large fish, like a big trout or something, because you need to have a longer blade to cut a proper fillet off. But for small fish like this, a 4-inch fillet knife is actually better than a big one, okay? So the first thing I want to do is show you how to do the perch. And what I'm going to do is skin this perch. Now, this particular perch is about 11.5 inches. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to insert the fillet knife into the back of the fish, and I'm going to run the knife down one side of the dorsal fin, right to the tail. So what I'm doing here, you can see that I'm actually making an outline right along the edge of the fish. So I've gone down the back on both sides, and I'm going around the gill. Okay, so what I've done is now I've separated the skin. I literally have one patch and the other patch. Now watch what happens. I'm actually going to pull the skin off both sides. Okay, so now all I have to do is take the head off and the insides. I'm going to take the fish and rinse it off just to show you the nice piece of meat that we have. Okay, so the only real bones that are in this fish is the vertebrae that's down the middle, and then the bones that are at the base of the dorsal fin and the anal fin that's back here. So when you cook this fish, you actually have a lot of meat. If I hold it like that, you can see how wide the fillet would have been. But when you take a fillet, you kind of miss some meat. So when I cook this, all I have to do is take a fork once it's cooked and put it underneath the flank of the fish, and it'll lift right off the bone. Very nice to eat. Now let me show you how I'm going to do the rock bass and the sunfish. I'm going to take the rock bass, and I'm going to use the clip, and I'm going to hold it down by the head so that fish isn't going to slide out of my hands. Next, I'm going to take my steak knife, and I'm going to go against the scales. So in this case, what I want to do is remove the scales from the fish without hurting myself on the spine. And I find that just using a steak knife works really well. So there's my piece of clean fish. Same thing for pan frying. Very easy to do. I'll flip them over. Okay, so I have, the only thing that's missing are the innards and the head. And again, when I fry this fish, I also enjoy eating the skin, I'll be able to remove the whole flank of skin and take it off. So you can see there's quite a bit of meat there. Look at 3 fish, 1, 2, 3. I said earlier that even for a grown man, you have 5 to 8 fish like that with some vegetables or rice or potatoes, and you have a really nice meal. And there's tons of panfish in most of our warm water lakes, especially in southern Ontario. They're very plentiful, and if you use the right techniques, they're pretty easy to catch, and you know what? They are great eating. Now it helps to have a flexible rod. Like you can see, these rods are all short, and I'm watching the tip because the line is so thin, it's hard to see the line. Okay, so that was, I went to lift up and I felt a little bit of resistance. You know, even though I've caught a lot of smaller fish, this is a keeper here. See if I can flip him in the boat. He's not a monster. That's a bit bigger perch. I'm going to guess that he's about 10 to 11 inches. So I've gotten to know the lengths. I'm trying to thumb lip him here, but he's got a lot of energy. So he's about 10, 11 inches. I'm going to put him in the live well because I'm on my way to having a good fry. Sometimes when you find rock piles or a clump of weeds where there's no weeds, it's good to cast to the same spot. But here, because I'm just fishing out in the open, and what it is a flat about 6, 7 feet. This guy's fighting good. Hope it's a nice keeper. Not sure what it is. Could be a big rock bass. Oh, it looks like a nice rock bass. Where's my net? I don't want to break off that tippet. He's not humongous, but he's a keeper again. And he ate that black twister. See if I can get my hand inside his mouth. So that guy will go about a half a pound, I'm guessing. Okay? And he really socked that jig. You can see how deep that jig is in his mouth. Now, a lot of people that keep crappie and jumbo perch don't really think of keeping sunfish or rock bass. Maybe they don't think they taste good, but let me tell you something. They're just as tasty as the other panfish. This guy's hooked so well, and I released him. How's that?
Canadian Sport Fishing is brought to you by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha Outboards, reliability starts here. Dickies, guaranteed workwear since 1922. Lucky Strike, more fish bite with a Lucky Strike.
Now, if you look at my sonar screen, hopefully you can see it even in the daylight. On the right shows the spot that I'm fishing. I'm going to zoom out so you can see where we are in Cook's Bay. Okay, so it's actually Cook's Bay, and we're on the eastern shore. And we're just up from Keswick, which is a good place to launch your boat, or if you need to rent a boat, where you can rent a boat. And on the left-hand side of the screen is we're in 11, almost 12 feet of water. The weeds are fairly close to the bottom. This is the bottom, this red line right here. This is the vegetation, here's the fish, suspended, and I'm getting hit steady.